It's probably inevitable that I would make this video because today I'm going to talk about the differences between Diptyque Philosykos Eau de Parfum and the Eau de Toilette. So earlier this year I did a review of the Eau de Parfum because I had finished my bottle, so I wanted to talk about it, and I did end up recently getting the Eau de Toilette version. As you can see, I've made a dent in it already. I've worn it a lot because the days that I do wear Philosykos, I spray it on quite heavily, and because it's so light and airy and I would say almost diaphanous, I can just keep respraying and I just reapply throughout the day. Both of these, the Eau de Parfum and the Eau de Toilette, are very light. They're not very long lasting. They don't have a lot of sillage, and that kind of makes them easy reaches and easy to wear, and I like to have things like that in my collection. As much as I want something that can last the whole day, I'm also okay with something not lasting a very long time, and I'm okay with just respraying it sometimes. Depends on my mood. So Philosykos is a fig perfume. It came out in 1996, and the perfumer behind this is Olivia Giacobetti. Now in 1994, she had already made a fig perfume for L'Artisan Perfumer, and that perfume is called Premier Figuier, but this one is for Diptyque. I went on the Diptyque website. I like to do a little bit of research before I start, and I was on their website, and there's this page on Philosykos and about how one of the founders had received a present from one of the other founders, and it was a box, and inside the box was dried fig leaves, and when she opened the box, you know, the scent of the fig leaf filled the room, so they decided to make a fig perfume. I mean, I don't really believe any of that. You can if you want to. I think it's a great story, but the problem for me is, first of all, they didn't create the fig perfume. The fig perfume was created by Olivia Giacobetti. She made the perfume. They might have come up with the concept. They might have wanted to recreate something that reminded them of their travels to Greece, because in that time, a lot of the Philosykos perfumes were odes to different places that they had been. So they might have wanted to recreate a perfume that had to do with Greece, but they definitely weren't making the perfumes. They weren't creating them. They were hiring perfumers to make them. And they hired a person who had already created a fig perfume that was quite successful. Now, the interesting thing about creating a fig perfume, and I've mentioned this before, I think I said this in my Dior Riviera review, but you can't use Fig Absolute because Fig Absolute is dangerous to put on your skin. So you have to recreate the scent of figs by using other elements that remind you of the fig. So the fig fruit is quite mushy. I don't find it to be very refreshing because there's no crispness to it. It's not very juicy in the way that maybe, you know, a stone fruit might be. You know, if you eat like a really ripe peach, you get the peach juice dripping on yourself, and I never get that with figs. I feel like as a fig becomes more and more ripe, it just becomes more soft. It just becomes softer and more mushy, and they're a little bit of an acquired taste. I feel like I didn't grow up eating figs. We always had fresh or dried figs in our house, and then when I tried a fresh fig for the first time, I didn't really love it. And then I tried it with other pairings like different cheeses and honey or yogurt, and that's when I started liking the fig fruit. So I think that they're a bit of an acquired taste if you didn't grow up eating them, but quite delicious. I mean, try them. They're in supermarkets everywhere at certain times of year. You can only get them when they're in season. They're not a fruit that's available all year round. There is a milkiness of the sap, and there's this like tannic kind of like this feeling when you eat them from the skin, and so you would have to use different elements to recreate that experience of eating a fig. And Olivia Giacobetti did that successfully in Philosykos, and she has different things that she uses to recreate the feeling of a green fig or the experience of walking under fig trees kind of after it's already rained. This is a very humid perfume. It's very moisture heavy. You can kind of smell moisture evaporating from trees and from leaves as you smell this perfume, and that's why I really like it. I live in a very dry climate right now, and so I like wearing things that recreate the feeling of humidity, and I think Philosykos does that really, really well. So how did she recreate that fig note? There's a grassiness, there's a greenness that comes through, but there's also coconut in the notes. I don't know if coconut is a listed note. I didn't really look up the notes because I am kind of very familiar with this perfume, but there is a coconut milk note that comes through in the Eau de Toilette version of the perfume. The Eau de Parfum has more of a fresh coconut, but the Eau de Toilette has more of a creamy, lactonic coconut, and that recreates the lactonic nature of a green fig. There's also cedar in the dry down, and the cedar recreates the woodsy nature of a green fig, or maybe thinking about the fig tree altogether. The cedar, I would say, is more prominent in the Eau de Parfum, and I think that's why I like the Eau de Parfum better. I really, really enjoy the cedar in this one, and it comes through almost throughout the whole wear of the perfume. Like, I can smell it right when I spray it initially and all the way down to the end. But like I was saying before, these perfumes don't last a very long time. They're not very strong. So even with 2 or 3 sprays, they're not something that I'm smelling for the whole entire day. I'm probably just smelling them for a couple of hours. But when I first smelled Philosykos Eau de Parfum, it really reminded me of walking out onto a cedar deck and first thing in the morning and smelling the dew evaporating from the deck and just smelling the cedar in the air because of that. Philosykos really recreates that scent for me, that scent memory, beautifully. And if you like the scent of cedar, then definitely the Eau de Parfum is the way to go. The Eau de Toilette is more heavy on the lactonic nature of the coconut. So the coconut is more prominent. It's very warm. It's a lot sweeter, a lot airier. Because of that, I think it's a little bit more feminine, whereas the Eau de Parfum, I think, is more unisex. Anyone could wear this. This one, to me, just feels a little bit more feminine. It's almost beachy because of the coconut note and how it plays with the greenness of whatever's creating that fig accord and with the cedar that's in the dry down. But the dry down is so faint and not as prominent. I mean, we have to remember that although these seem to have different emphasis on certain notes, the Eau de Parfum is also literally stronger than the Eau de Toilette. So if you're not happy with the performance in the Eau de Toilette, then try the Eau de Parfum and see if you like that better. I will say that the Eau de Parfum also has a black pepper in the opening, and that gives it a bit of bite and adds a different texture to it. If this one is creamier, then this one is a little bit more snappy, I would say, and I like that. It feels a little bit colder, and the Eau de Toilette feels a little bit warmer. So those are the main differences. Of course, there's a difference in price as well. The Eau de Parfum is always going to be more expensive, but also the Eau de Toilette is available in 2 sizes. So you can get it in a 50 ml and in a 100 ml. The 50 ml at retail is $169, at least it was today. There might be a price hike tomorrow, you never know. You can also find it at discounters quite often and quite easily. So I would definitely look out for that. The Eau de Parfum is only available in a 75 ml size, so only this large bottle available, and it's $297. So definitely more expensive, but they smell so different, at least to my nose, that I would recommend going to the counter and smelling them for yourself, wearing them on yourself, and then seeing which one you like better. I don't think that you can just choose the cheaper version, because to me it smells so different from the eau de parfum. I would just, for me, I like the eau de parfum a little bit better. I think it's just more interesting, and I like how prominent that cedar note is. I really miss that when I wear the eau de toilette. It just seems too light and too sweet for me, but it's still not sweet like a honey sweet or a gourmand sweet. I would just say it's sweeter in comparison to the eau de parfum. That's what I think. And of course, with Diptyque, you're gonna get the gorgeous pen and ink drawings on the front and on the back, and I think that makes these bottles so beautiful and so collectible. I also, from what I've seen, I have seen that people often gift Diptyque, which is really nice, but because it's so difficult to gift perfume and make a choice that you know is going to be appreciated, I also see a great deal of Diptyque on the resale market. So if you're okay with buying a bottle that is used, definitely have a look, even on something like eBay or Facebook Marketplace. I see a lot of Diptyque and a lot of Philosykos show up. I don't think that they are necessarily safe perfumes. Just because they're light doesn't mean that they're safe. If you don't like green perfumes, you might have a hard time with Philosykos, but if you do like green perfumes and those notes like the coconut and the cedar sound interesting, then go have a sniff and let me know what you think. But yeah, if you're looking for a deal, you can often find these a little bit cheaper, especially if you're not too particular about whether you're getting a box or no box. I will also mention, since I mentioned eBay, I will also say that there are fakes of Diptyque out there. So just do some research and try to find something that is being sold by someone who's already worn it and is looking to maybe declutter their collection, or just didn't enjoy the perfume and maybe they want something different. But yeah, if you're looking at a brand new bottle and it seems, and specifically on eBay, if you're looking at a brand new bottle and it seems too good to be true, then it might be too good to be true. So there are different websites out there where you can see how to figure out whether your bottle is a fake or not a fake. So have a look at those and do some research before you hit that buy button. But that's it from me. I think I said this, but I definitely prefer the eau de parfum version. And when I was doing a kind of informal survey about what people preferred, I did find that a lot of people preferred the eau de parfum. But I mean, that could just also be, you know, sometimes you just attract what you put out. So I had already put out that the eau de parfum was my preferred version. Maybe that's why I got that back also. Let me know what you think. I know I have some other fake perfumes to try that are on my list of sampling to do at some point. But if you've smelled both of these, let me know which one you like, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.